Hi, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is a Senior Citizens Forum, and I'm Janice Wood, your host. And a Senior Citizens Forum is being sponsored by Benefits for You Too Insurance Services, where we like to do health insurance. And we love working with seniors that are 65 and above. And we like working with people with disabilities. We also do health insurance for people that are below the age of 65. So, but today we're not going to be talking about any form of health insurance. We're going to be talking about getting ready for retirement and what you do, what different things that people do in retirement. So if you stay until the end of this show, you're going to find me talking about podcasts and what I'm looking for in podcasts that are going to be taken from this show. But today, my guest is Mike Brown, who is a very innovative, I can call you young man, right?
Sure, that's great. Yes.
Okay. He's the CEO of Impact Growth. He has had lots of experience while he was going through college. He started his own company, which made $50,000. And excuse me, $50 million. That's a major several zeros missing. Okay. And he had clients in 177 different countries. And Mike, you can add on to this a little bit. You wasn't really happy with how his business was working with the environment at that time. And he started to redirect himself. And to make a long story short, he's into Impact Growth, where he works with companies that work with value alignment, strategic purposes. This, I think, is really interesting. B Corporation certificate, which is something I never heard of. And he and I are going to be talking about my becoming B certified, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Achieve the best in the world status, which has to do with the B corporations again, and entrepreneurship. And I know last week he had a class that he did, and I saw a little bit of his class because I was with another friend of ours at the time, and he had the class on, but I wasn't able because I had an appointment going on to participate in the class. What we're going to talk about today is, what are you going to do in retirement? What people are doing in retirement? What's available? So, Mike, you want to talk about a little bit about what you know about that subject, or if not, I can start out.
I'd be happy to, Janice, and thank you for that introduction. It's great to be here on your show and with your audience and your viewers. It's great for me to think about this topic, because for me, everything that I do today is about impact on the future, and that impact on the future also pays for what is happening now. I work with businesses to help them leverage their competitive advantages in their commitments to people on the planet. In a nutshell, when I went to business school, like all people that went to business school, or most people that went to business school, we were taught that business is all about money. And the buck stops with making as much profit as you can. And sadly, in the business world, that's come at the cost of many great things in our planet and in our environment. And also, we were taught to pay people as little as the market would allow, and basically get as much as we could as business leaders from people on the planet to make as much profit as we could. What I do today is help businesses that have adopted the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit to increase their profits, because more people care about buying from conscious companies. They care about buying from companies that are good for the environment and good for the people that work for them and all throughout their supply chain. So everything for me is truly about a positive impact, building up to a positive legacy. So as we think about retirement, I'm thinking long into the future so that when I do retire, I've built a body of work that has purpose and impact and legacy built into it. But it's never, ever, ever too late to start thinking about purpose, impact, and legacy. And I think I've got 5 things to share in this model today, Janice. I think we can go through one of them at a time. And I'll kick us off into the first one, which is number one, the most important thing is to focus on relationships. Everything is about relationships. There's long studies. It's like 100-year plus study now on what happens to people, especially in their later stages of life, what matters the most. And it's high quality interpersonal relationships with people that you share values, beliefs, and passions with.
That's so true.
That matters the most. Yeah. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's friends. Sometimes it's people in your community. What it all adds up to is share time with people that you get energy from, and it creates this win-win in those relationships. And Janice, maybe we can chit chat about this one a little bit before we move on to the next.
Yeah,
But what do you
I'd
think
love
about
to
those
chit-chat
relationships?
about this right there, because there's so many different ways you can go about doing this in retirement. So just real quickly, I want to go back real quick. I've done a lot of research on this, and most of the information I've been finding for retirees on the internet is working on the financial part. And what I feel you and I are talking about today is what's available within your community. And the community can be your family, the community can be your religious organization, your community can be different things that you can volunteer for. Am I in the right area with you right now?
Absolutely. You're
Right.
checking the check boxes. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm checking the check boxes. And I just think that it's so important for seniors to stay engaged. And sometimes that's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It is definitely not easy. I'm a senior. Luckily, I have my motivational era is different. I know when I don't feel good, I have to stop and say, I'm not going to let this define me.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm willing to go out. I'm out there, obviously. And it's when you don't have that touch. I mean, like right now, you and I are talking on Zoom, but this is great, but I'm not touching you. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. It does. It does. And I think in relationships, there's a number of ways of touch points. There's that physical proximity. Then there's also, I use a relationship scoreboard model in business and personal relationships that deals with things like trust and vision and values and meaningfulness and amount of time kind of invested and spent, this concept of giving more than we're getting. There's a number of ways to look at relationships. And because sometimes it's like a strength overuse can become a weakness, right? So when we overuse a strength of like just spending lots of time with somebody, sometimes we can start to almost resent how much time we spend with any one person if it's not aligned on values and meaning and impact. And I think it's really important to kind of score that up. And in super high trusting relationships, invite the other person to score the relationship too, and then have an open dialogue around how we doing in this relationship. And that's a model I'm very comfortable with because I've worked on that for some time. But it's something that needs to be built up in a relationship. So the sooner you start with that level of communication and transparency in your most important relationships, the more meaning and impact and love you can have in those relationships.
Yeah, I think that's so important because there are certain people that you feel more comfortable with. There's certain people that you feel more comfortable talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And as a senior, that I see this in so many different levels that which you're talking about. All
Yeah.
right. Do I feel comfortable talking to my religious leader? Do I feel comfortable talking to my family members?
Hmm.
And maybe you'll talk about one thing to one person and not talk about the same thing to another person. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, there's so many different things that go on. And
I
but
love it. And I mean, some of you that may be listening or watching, maybe, wondering what is that model? If Janice, if it's okay with you, I'll share my website URL where people can contact me and be able to get that
that's
model.
fine. That is when they're gonna be able to we're gonna click on if they go on excuse me, I'm getting lost in my words. There all that information is being posted.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So the whole MikeBrown.com will be there posted, and you can always reach out to me
All of
there.
that is totally going to be posted in that information. But to go back to
Terrific.
seniors right now, uh, it's important that you find a place that you're comfortable in,
Hmm.
that comfortable spot. And for all of it is different. I went out of, can I talk about being out of my comfort zone? Okay. When I first started doing this 3 years ago, I was out of my comfort zone. And what you feel, I mean, some people are willing to do this and some people are not willing to do this. So, what is your comfort zone? Isn't that sort of where you're getting at?
Yeah. And I find that if all that we do is stay in our comfort zone, instead of pontificating to all, I'll say for me, if I only stay in my comfort zone, I'm no longer learning and growing. And if I'm not learning and growing, you know what they say about that.
Mhm.
And they say that that's the beginning of dying. And I know that can be a morbid subject, but I'm a big believer in that. And I'm committed for the rest of my life to be a lifelong learner. And this is a great segue into point number two, which is become a mentor. For seniors, there's so much wisdom and knowledge to be able to pass to the next and to give generously. And for millennials, I'm an old millennial. Millennials started in 1982 and I was born in 1985. And Generation Z, we crave knowledge as much as we're sometimes written off as thinking we know it all. We really don't. And the majority of people I know in those two generations are seeking to learn, and they're curious about the past and they want to learn from history. They want to learn from people that have been there and done that. And as a senior, it also would take the senior out of the senior's comfort zone and have an opportunity to create mutual learning. If you've ever been a mentor, you realize that as you mentor somebody, you're learning in the process with your mentee, with the person you're mentoring. And I can tell you, there's almost, besides purposeful relationships, mentoring and mentee is one of those purposeful relationships, but it's one that I don't see enough of. I don't see that intergenerational knowledge transfer.
I I think I could talk about myself, and I do a lot of that. Okay, talking about myself so people can relate. Uh, I worked for a big government for 36 years and was retired. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do one thing, and it ended up not being what I wanted it to do. And then I got into doing insurance, but I took a lot of my skills that I learned, and I'm be able to transfer them in. And I feel like I'm doing some of that form of that, but for seniors,
Yeah.
not for the age group that you're talking about. But I can see if, let's say, if I was a lawyer and I retired and I went to different organizations, okay, that did that form of mentoring, I could take that information or going to a university and using that information that I have
Mm. Yes.
Help them.
That's a terrific example of taking what you know and adding value into the world. And I think um, in retirement, I'm just projecting myself, into my future. I never want to lose the feeling of significance and meaningfulness in society.
Oh,
And I think that is lifeblood, and that is energy, and that is purpose. And I think that having a mentee or two or three, whatever, time and situations and energy permit, it's like the more the better in that area, I would say.
I agree.
And it's so important for our culture. It's so important for our American culture that, in my opinion, has lost its ability to have our seniors mentoring our young adults and our children. I think that is priceless, and I would love to see more of it. And I think it's a win-win.
I think it's a win-win. I can see this as in two different ways of doing it, depending upon, what you want to do. You can become a consultant as a
Mhm.
senior and do that. And maybe you want to set up a fee for that. That's up to you. Okay. Or maybe you just feel like it's some volunteer work that you need to do and you can do that. Now, I know recently, and I just, young lady that works for me, her mother has always worked in preschools. And now all of a sudden, there's a preschool who's asked her mother to come back a couple of hours a week to help out. And it's made a difference in her mental health. It's made a difference in her physical health that she's out and moving around.
Mm. That's a great example. And again, I mean, we're segueing very seamlessly here, Janice, into number three, which is volunteer your talents and your energy. Again, I mean, some of the most engaged people I know in the business field there's a local venture capital group that I'm involved with in Orange County called Rev Hub OC. It's all social impact venture capital investing, basically money going into businesses that need seed capital in order to launch their venture until it is profitable. And I've built some relationships with volunteers there that are retired from the business community, and they are so engaged and smart and adding massive value. I'm learning with them. They're learning from me. I'm learning from them. And it's a volunteer effort as we do due diligence on these companies. It's just a terrific, and people have so many diversity of talents. There's so many talents that are out there in the community that I'm from the business world, right? And so I know that area, but there's so many ways that people can contribute. And I think the thing that we need to break through is that negative belief that might not serve us well, that says like, well, I don't have anything to give. I don't have a talent. Everybody has a talent and something of value that they can volunteer and give with freely.
Okay, I totally agree. I think we all have a talent, and some of us just don't know how to tap into that talent. Now,
Mhm.
I like to give examples. I have a friend who always watches my shows, by the way, and she worked for a big engineering company. Now she lives outside of Yosemite, and she's become part of the library, the board for the county that she's in or the city that she's in. And they're building a new library. So she's taking what she learned as working for an engineering company and helping them get through all the red tape,
Wow.
besides working with her passion of books.
It's, I mean, that's a terrific example. She's really helping and serving by volunteering. And if she were to be here with us on this show, she'd probably be saying that she feels like she's getting more than she's giving.
Right.
Yeah, that she's the winner in that volunteer relationship. She's not doing it out of obligation. It's not a have to, it's a get to.
It's a gift. It is too. And for her, it's really helped her out because moving from big area like Los Angeles area,
Hmm.
a small community outside the Yosemite area, it was like a cultural change.
Mm,
Lifestyle, you know, how we were on this fast track and all of a sudden it stopped.
yes.
So for her being part of this, it has helped her a lot, but she's still giving back to the community. She's giving what she knows, her expertise is in, and it makes a
Mhm.
difference. There's so many things that you can do with your time.
Yes. And I mean, one of the things I love to do with my time is to give back to the earth, give back to the environment. And for my birthday in March this year, I wanted to go up to Kings Canyon, Sequoia National Park. The big trees are spiritual. They inspire me. They reinvigorate me. Unfortunately, all that was canceled because of the massive rains and atmospheric rivers and snowpack that damaged roads up there. So I had to pivot this year. What do I want to do for my birthday? And I rallied two of my best friends, and we volunteered with Orange County Parks, OC Parks, to do environmental stewardship at Aliso and Wood Canyons Wilderness Preserve here in Orange County. We didn't know what we were signing up for exactly. We went, and it was, the beginning of spring, and they have a native plant population to reinvigorate California native plants to fight back against invasive species that are taking over the wilderness park. And they said, all right, in fall we plant, in spring we weed. And for 4 hours, we were weeding around these plants using pretty nice tools that cut the weeds down.
That's
And we were exhausted. And I realized that when I am a senior, that's probably not the type of volunteer work that I can do, but I know I will find things, not to write it off, but like, I'm 38, and I felt like I was going to need to stop after about 3 hours. And the last hour was really tough. And it's one of those things where I know that my type of volunteering will change, but the impact that I have will still be there because I can be able to maybe guide that stewardship instead of doing the actual like hacking at the weeds for 4 hours out in the sun. I can help to educate and to be able to say, here's what a native plant is, and here's what an invasive plant is. Let's go after it together and inspire and align people with my knowledge.
I think that's something seniors can do
I agree.
for what their physical condition is, okay?
Yes.
Because we're all different at different ages, but it may be starting something in their backyard that they never done before. So
Absolutely. And I'll clarify that. That's for me. Like I'm projecting when I'm, 68 instead of 38. I don't think I will be able to get out there and cut those weeds
I
down like I
yeah,
did.
yeah. You're gonna stay in good physical shape. Okay. uh and I
One,
talk about that a lot on this show, okay, staying in good physical shape. But I think
yeah.
you're giving an idea that maybe somebody who's listening to this show didn't think about doing. Oh my God, I could go out there and I can pick up paper on the beach, okay? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
exactly, it can be a variation of what you're doing.
Yep. Especially with environmental pollution and where it's at, every little bit helps to help our planet. And yeah, I hope when I'm 68, I can still hack weeds for 4 hours, but I will probably need to pivot to other environmental behaviors, just
But
knowing my own health.
it's okay to do it for an hour.
Yes, it is okay to do it. And there were some that were there for 2 hours and then said that's enough
That
and moved on.
I
and
mean,
and
it doesn't. I can't do what I did when I was 25, but I can do what I can do now. Okay.
Exactly. And we can all do something. I think that's my point. I probably said it a little bit
Right.
not what I intended, but my point is just, yeah, we can find ways to volunteer our talents that are tied to our passions,
Right.
and the feeling that comes from giving back gives me momentum for weeks and months going forward, that I was able to make a positive contribution as a human being into things that I care about. And that's to me, that's life.
And one of the things I'm going to talk to you about, I'll mention it right now. At some other time, I'd like you to come back on the show and we'll talk about the environment and we'll talk about what a B certification is. I would love you to do that. We're going to take a break right now for a couple of seconds and we're going to come back. Welcome. We're back again with Mike Brown from Impact Grove. We've been having a great conversation about some different things you can do with seniors. And I know Mike has a couple of more points, and I have some things that I would like to bring up about what seniors can do in their retirement also. So, Mike, what are your other points?
Oh, thank you, Janice. And again, it's great to be here with you and with all your amazing listeners. I think as we head into our final chapters in our life here on this planet, we think about things like, well, what about when I'm not here? And one of the things that I think about in my own retirement is, how can I have a legacy that I can add value to society, even when my physical body is no longer here on this planet? I don't have a voice or a physical presence on this planet. How can I still add value? And to me, the best thing that I plan to do years down the road is to write. And I'm already writing now. I'm already writing, I write a blog, I write a lot of emails, I write a lot of journals and notes for myself. But as I move forward, I will likely be even more diligent about writing memoirs, lessons learned, advice, experiences, the ability to catalog a life well lived, to be able to, in my family, in the Brown family, to be able to, in some ways, speak to my great, 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 great grandchildren in a way that gives them perspective into their lineage, their ancestors, and to be able to think far into the future about impact, so that the time I'm still here on this planet is as impactful and meaningful as possible.
That is really great. I love that you're doing that. I had to bring up my little best I can do a heart doing that. Okay. There's ways that seniors can do that. And you're taking me into an area I wanted to talk about a little later on, but it just writing your memoirs, saving stuff to talk about what you've done, the impact. Did you know there's a program not all colleges have or universities have, that's called Osher Lifelong Learning. And one of the classes that they offer, and it is for seniors, okay, is how to write your memoirs.
Mm.
And I've known, oh, even when I was still working, I have a friend who, she's in her 90s now, who have taken these classes to how to write her memoirs. I have a girlfriend right now that's doing that. How to write her memoirs, how to write her thoughts down of what she thought. It's such a beautiful gift that you can leave your family. And I'll talk more about the Osher Life Learning Institute in a couple of minutes. Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's a good transition into the final point I wanted to share with your show, is to keep listening and keep learning. I don't believe the mantra, an old dog can't learn new tricks. I think that's so wrong. I think it's wrong in every single word that's in that mantra. I really do believe that when there is an individual commitment to listening and learning, that learning never stops. And when learning never stops, growth never stops. And when growth never stops, life is continuing to be fruitful, enjoyable, full of passion and life. And I think that's the definition of success I'm looking forward to at that stage of my life.
I think that's real important what you're doing. So this is you're taking, we're right on the same page with each other. Okay. I looked up your alma mater. Okay. Because I was into what the universities offer. Okay. And I know, can I mention your alma mater name?
Please. Yeah, sure.
Chapman University. And I know for me, Chapman University has a museum that I've been to. If you've been a Hugh Hauser fan, you're going to find his museum is housed in all of his memorabilia on the Chapman University in Orange, California. And I have a friend who is a major Hugh Hauser fan. All right.
It's an amazing museum, Janice. I've been to that museum, and it is terrific. So I love that you're mentioning it.
It's terrific, but it's one thing I like going to is museums. So I think maybe others an idea of what you do. But why I'm mentioning this and looking it up, I look to see if they have what programs Chapman has that because they're not part of the Osher lifelong learning program. Okay. They do. They have a lot of classes that they have for senior citizens. A lot of them in the crafts area. A lot of them, if you go in, you give the university some ideas, they will bring classes to the community, which would include senior citizens. I talked about the Osher Life Learning Institute. A lot of universities throughout the United States does this. This one here is for Long Beach State University here in California. And Long Beach State they're called OLLI. And they have all these classes from how to play bridge, how to make recordings like this, what we're doing now, the history of women in visual arts, great skills on how to play the ukulele. There's just a ton of different classes, stained glass making, how to use your computers. It's just coin collecting, just a great, look at all the classes.
Wow.
A lot of stuff that will help you for learning, which I think is real important for all of us. As Mike said a few minutes ago, if we don't keep learning, we don't keep the brain stimulated. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I know in the senior products, some of the senior products, depending upon who their carrier is and what they have to offer, will offer a lot of different things to help keep the brain active. And, not only do you have to keep active physically, so you can go out and help clean up the environment. Okay. My significant other, okay, he believes if everybody just went out once a day and picked up a piece of paper or a piece of trash off the ground, if we all did that once a day, not only are you helping the environment, but you're also getting some form of physical activity at the same time.
One of my favorite neighbors, he's not retired, but he's slightly older than I am. One of my favorite neighbors, I'll see him on the second story of my house. I'll see him every once in a while. He'll be on a conference call with his earpiece in, and he's walking around the neighborhood as he's talking with people, and he's picking up, pieces of paper and little pieces of trash and things like that. And I love that about him. Every time I see him, I say, I love how you're creating a win-win for yourself. You're getting your steps, you're cleaning up the neighborhood, and you're also accomplishing your work at the same time. And it's one of those subconscious things for me, like to find those opportunities to do that in my own life too. I think he's a great example of what you're talking about. And he's not retired yet, but he's already practicing a great behavior that will carry him into retirement.
Well, when it comes to the environment, I don't think it matters what your age is. Even if
Yeah.
you're 3 years old, you can start teaching them your grandchildren, which is mentoring, which we're going back to. Okay, you can
Mhm.
you can be teaching them how to take a great love in preserving the environment, the planet.
Yes. And with our 4-year-old daughter, we did that. We do that regularly. An example is here's a cool thing for your audience to look into is how to protect endangered species like monarch butterflies with a California native butterfly garden with California native milkweed in it. With our 3-year-old, when she was 3, she's been 4 now. We did this and we raised almost 100 monarchs in our backyard using butterfly enclosures, the right plants, and making sure the plants stayed alive. It was so much fun. And to see our daughter connect with nature in that way, it gave us energy. We felt great about it. She cried like so hard when she let the first butterfly go because she felt that connection with the butterfly.
Sure, as a
And
caterpillar, yeah.
yeah, so she saw them grow from little eggs to hatch into caterpillars and get big and then turn into the chrysalises. And then she saw the wings coming out. And I'm just thinking, how impactful could that be if everybody that had the yard to be able to do it, like you don't even have to have a yard, you can do it in a concrete jungle. If they just like felt that connection with nature in the way that our family does, I think it's inspiring, and it just makes it, believe me, it's one of those getting more than giving. Like it just feels good to be good to the planet.
Yeah, because you talked about mentoring earlier at the beginning of the show, and I just think mentoring can be done in so many different ways. It can be done on a volunteerism. It can be done just with your grandchildren, okay? And the different things that you share. I know last year I took my 15-year-old grandson to Washington, D.C. And I wanted to go to Arlington Cemetery. And he was like, why do I want to go see a bunch of people, dead people I don't know? Well, he's 15. I said, you have to experience to understand. So when we saw the changing of the guard for the unknown soldier, he said, Grandma, now I understand what you were talking about.
What a powerful moment. I mean,
What a part.
that connects him with our nation's past and our heritage and the meaningfulness and the sacrifices of amazing people that have fought for the freedoms that we enjoy here in the United States. And no nation is perfect, but I'm very proud of many of the things here in America, and to be able to connect your grandson with that is that's terrific. It's a core memory.
A definitely core memory. And that's another thing that you can do as a grandparent. But real quick, I want to talk about something that I want to build off the show. I want to build podcasts off the show. So if you're watching this show and the information is right here for you to contact me, I would like to know what you're doing in your retirement. And if you're willing to talk about it on a 5 to 10 minute podcast, and then I want to be able to share it with everyone. And I just think it would be a fun thing to do because we're going to be building podcasts. And this is where I want to start the building of podcasts of what seniors are doing in the retirement. And I'm anxious to learn about all the different amazing things that you're doing out there in your retirement time. And I know Mike would probably like to hear some of these different things that they're doing because there's so many different things that you can be doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so please
It's inspiring to look at the great things that people are doing, so that I like to plan for the future. And Yeah, so that would be inspiring. I hope I believe that when those podcast episodes come together, they're going to add a lot of value.
I think they would. I know they're going to add a lot of value. So, Mike, I'd like to have you come back on again where we can really talk about your passion
Mhm.
and we can learn more about what B certification is and how seniors can work with B certification, maybe finding companies that they can work with that do B certification. So we'll schedule something in the future for that.
I look forward to it.
Thank you so much for being on our show today. This is a Senior Citizens Forum on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. Bye, everyone.